The peoples who have the power to kill or keep the earth alive. We are all in this. This is a quote from my friend Fabrizio from Peru. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Campbell Bloxham. I'm a high school student from Calgary, which is a city just 3 hours south of here. It is an honor for all of us, the International Youth Voice representatives, to have this opportunity to present our Global Youth White Paper to you today. This paper is the culmination of 4,000 students from 13 countries. After weeks of engaging in online activities, national surveys, and climate action projects, these students came together to collaborate through the use of technology in virtual town halls to discuss the youth vision for education, cities, and climate change. From almost every continent, the youth of the world exchanged ideas, debated alternatives, and ultimately created a document that represents our collective voice on this issue. We, the youth representatives from across the world, believe that youth should have the opportunity to not only be involved in climate change conversation, but have the opportunity to lead it. And furthermore, have the opportunity to be part of the solutions. We believe that this can be achieved through 5 different methods. The first is equity and inclusion. The second, education and updated curriculum. The third, infrastructure. The fourth is project-based learning. And the fifth is social media and communication. Youth have the capacity to act as climate change leaders in their cities and on the global stage.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Pedro, I'm a student from São Paulo in Brazil. And I'll tell you about who we are. So, who we are? Well, we are the youth representing the global community from all around the world, gathered here in Edmonton to establish inclusive, innovative, and culturally diverse resolutions for climate change in our cities, and to take it to IPCC with a real application plan, so we can implement them as soon as possible. But before we met, the only thing we had in common were our concerns about climate change in our hometowns and cities. We speak 15 different languages. In fact, half of us don't use the English as a primary language. And we have different religious backgrounds, such as Christian, Muslim, Hindu, and atheist. But believe it or not, from what seemed awkward at first, have now become a family. We love together, despite these many differences between gender, color, religion, culture, and language. We are the true proof that people from all around the world can work together effectively and exceptionally, and can overcome the climate change situation in our world.
Hello, my name is Julia Chung from Queen Elizabeth High School, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I'm proud that our city, Edmonton, is hosting Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Conference. We actively reflected on challenging questions such as how and what might different groups contribute to climate conversations in their schools and in their cities through writing our blog posts and taking a global online classroom. Not just writing our blog posts and commenting on others' opinions, we also ran some simulations such as the ecological footprint calculator. We conducted surveys from cities where each of the delegates are from and did individual local climate change cases on our cities. Many youth artists submitted their artwork on taking a global online classroom, and some of these artworks are integrated throughout this presentation.
Hi, I'm Kevina Yusuf, a student from Bekasi, Indonesia. And now I'm going to tell you about video conference that we've been having just before this event. So, despite the time difference, we still managed to meet each other face to face by video conference where we share ideas, experience, and found solutions. Not only that, we also explored the different situations that are happening in our cities. And while we were telling everything about that took place in our cities, that's when we were really connected to each other. That's when we really feel and understand that what's going on in other part of the world.
Hi, I am Fabrizio from Huánuco, Peru, and now I'm going to talk about the bilateral. The bilateral was a meeting face-to-face through the internet with a continent partner in the same time zone from the global north to the global south. We discussed about our climate reality in our cities, how we are affecting the climate and how it is affecting us. If the government is doing something or doing nothing, and how our schools are helping. We learn about our differences and similarities. We share ideas and teach to others what we are doing. In my case, I had a meeting face-to-face through the internet with students in California, US. So they explained me how the climate change is affecting their city, like forests are prone to get fire, droughts makes mudslides, and I also explain my case, like droughts ruin the crops, heavy rains makes floods and a lot of landslides, and also explain my case river that become in a midst of disease for the contamination of all the people that live in my city. I learned how climate change affects us in different ways. It can depend the locating, the people, and their ecological history.
Hello everyone, I'm Judy from Beijing, China. So after completing the bilaterals, we moved on to the tri-regional conferences. These conferences were organized by our geographical locations. All the Asian countries were in one group, South America and North America were in another group, and finally Europe and Africa were together. The goal of these conversations was to get an in-depth conversation started, as well as some of the previous national dialogue and bilateral conferences. Within these conferences, we discussed the youth actions in cities in our countries. For example, they plant trees in forests around Kenya, and the collaboration with youth organizations in Slovenia, waste paper management in China, and Car-Free Day program in Indonesia. We shared our ideas and recommendations regarding climate change. For this, social media tools were used for our conversation. We are one example of how social media links people around the world, making it easier for us to communicate, teach, and learn from each other's experiences, and share our ideas. Listed above are different social medias we use, and almost all collaborations were online. It was the first time for me to edit through Google Drive, since it's very hard to get access to Google in China. So I learned Snapchat, Twitter, and Google Drive by scratch, and I have to say that Snapchat is the most difficult software I've ever used. In China, we use WeChat. I'm not exaggerating, but everyone uses WeChat, including my grandparents, which is why it's so challenging for me to adapt to these new forms of online collaborative tools. For us as a group, our favorite social media is Instagram because we can share our ideas easily on Instagram, and it's very convenient to spread and upload our surveys.
Hello, my name is Sophie. I'm from Colombia, Bogota. So you may know that each of us has given a part of ourselves into this paper, and it is a common passion feeling that brought us together. This is the moment in which we realize how powerful our voices are and that we can make the impossible possible. This experience cannot be described with simple words because we enjoyed it in a way that I could never have imagined. This group is a group of beautiful, loyal, and humble people that are focusing all of their efforts on climate change. Because we as youth do not accept a reality in which our world doesn't have revolution to change the situation that we live today. Our reality last week, as you can see, was 13 hours every day debating and writing about climate change. And this caused confusion and frustration in me and in my partners. But that is not enough to stop this family, because we persisted in reaching viable solutions to climate change. And we had the opportunity to share it at night, and today we are expressing here our paperwork. This paper established all our worries, and we are very proud to show you this work that we have done, that we know that we cross frontiers and will be in this decade. Also, we know that we represent the voice of a youth that wants revolution, because we are demanding to be heard, from our schools to our cities to our governments.
So hi everyone, it's me Pedro again. So we made a survey to see how people feel about climate change in our 12 cities. We had made general questions to youth to see how they address climate change in their individual lives and how their schools and governments must act on climate change issues in their cities. We also made some questions about the climate situation in each country. We used social media to spread these surveys, like email, Instagram, WhatsApp, Line, and we got over 4,021 responses in total.
Hello again, everyone. Because climate change affects all of us on such a personal level, we decided to ask in one of our survey questions, how do youth feel about climate change in their city? After analyzing the data, we realized that overwhelmingly, youth around the world have an emotional connection to climate change. From this, we began to wonder, what does this mean? We realized it means that youth from around the world are not apathetic to the issue of climate change. Instead, we are craving engagement and the opportunity to influence conversation and actions regarding climate change.
Now I'm going to tell you the result of survey number 2, which is my actions have an impact on the global climate. A majority of people agree and strongly agree that they have personal responsibility on climate change, yet they're not sure what it means by my actions. Whether they think they're making climate change worse or better, whether they believe that individual actions are enough to deal with climate change, or whether they connect their actions to collective work by schools, cities, governments, or structures. However, in survey number 3, a majority of respondents feel that their city is not taking effective action to prevent climate change. We're not sure whether this survey indicates that cities are not taking action, or whether youth don't know what action their cities are taking to address climate change. Further research will be needed to answer this question. In any case, we think that cities could do better of communicating their climate projects to young people and getting us involved.
Hello everyone, my name is Suhani Giroti and I'm from New Delhi, India. Regarding the barriers to combating climate change, the number one barrier that we encounter is the fact that people simply do not know how to address it. Lack of awareness is followed by government apathy, financial interest, and a sense that people feel that climate change is simply not my responsibility. An interesting factor that we encountered through taking these surveys was that barriers tend to differ between countries due to factors such as government and major industries. Looking closely at the data, we realized that when students picked financial interest as their number one barrier, they were referencing the fact that governments today tend to make decisions due to profit more than caring about the environment. Because there are multiple and overlapping barriers, we need to address climate change through multiple ways, both within different communities as well as within a single community.
Hi, my name is David Felipe. I come from Bogota, Colombia. Our paper summarizes the thoughts and views of more than 10 different countries across the 5 continents on the roles of schools and cities about climate education. After writing the blog post, we noticed as a theme that these were the emerging themes: equity and inclusion, education and update curriculum, infrastructure, program-based learning, and social media and communication.
Hello, my name is Anthea, and I'm a high school student from Accra, Ghana, West Africa. I will be talking about equity and inclusion. Now, whose problem is climate change? It's everybody's problem. We're all going to be facing climate change individually in different ways. But then there's the question, who's actually involved in the big decisions and the conversation about climate change? And the answer to that question is very few groups of people, probably very prominent and very rich groups of people. A lot of people are left out of the conversation about climate change because of barriers like poverty. For example, in my country, people who live in slums aren't considered very much. Their opinions are not considered in big decisions that the government makes about climate change because they don't think they have anything to offer. These people don't have a voice when it comes to these type of conversations, and sometimes the people with the smallest voices are the people who are affected the most. You see, all of these people have an individual way that they can contribute to the solutions that we are coming up with to combat climate change. They're facing climate change in different ways, so it's only natural that they would have individual solutions on how we can tackle climate change together. You see, there are some complexities, however, in acknowledging that everybody needs to be a part of the climate conversation. One decision which may be good in one area may not necessarily be as good in another area. However, when we make these decisions, we should take into consideration the people who have been on the sidelines, the people who we've been ignoring when it comes to the climate conversation. And we should make sure that when we make our decisions, we don't just consider them, but we involve them in the decisions that we make so that climate change doesn't affect them, so that they are not as negatively affected by the decisions that we make anymore. Thank you.
Climate change education and curriculum must be implemented throughout the school, including all levels of schooling. This is for the same reason as we learn math from such a young age. Math becomes more habitual rather than forceful, and this is exactly what we want climate education to become. For this to work effectively, schools, governments, and cities must work together to develop opportunities for children to learn about climate change. Climate change learning should be integrated into all subjects in school curriculum, such as in math word problems or in English analysis essays. Schools should also be able to encourage students to participate in school environmental clubs or simply encourage and support student initiatives. As our world becomes more and more inundated with related disasters, it is becoming necessary to teach students about climate disasters. Having a greater understanding of the potential hazards, it will allow students to have the tools that they need to address and survive disasters. We are aware that in some parts of the globe, people see climate change education as a form of environmental propaganda. These individuals are the ones who believe that climate change simply does not exist or is not an issue big enough to be discussed. These individuals tend to lobby against the implementation of climate education in curriculum and often gain support of major corporations who tend to harm the environment as well. We believe that schools must withstand these prejudices and continue to educate students about climate change. We as a youth from several places around the world have carefully analyzed the pressing situation of climate change in relation to the various curriculums that we study in our respective schools. We have come to the conclusion that altering the curriculum to match the needs of the environment is imperative.
Hello everyone, I'm Natalia from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'll be talking to you about infrastructure. Cities must ensure that buildings are eco-friendly and sustainable. The buildings should be self-sufficient in the sense that they produce the energy that they use while simultaneously minimizing their impact on the surrounding environments. Features such as moss walls, green roofs, and natural lighting on school buildings and buildings around the city will inspire more people to live sustainably. It's therefore necessary for schools to reassess their infrastructure by adding green spaces and natural lighting to enhance student learning, attendance, and mental health. Just recently, Edmonton Public Schools Board voted unanimously to request provisional governments to put solar panels in all schools. Different cities might have different needs, but this is a good example of city-wide support. We do take into consideration that making these changes to school and city infrastructure will come with a lot of challenges, such as resistance from the general public. Therefore, we, the youth from across the planet, request governments and cities to take up their responsibility of providing financial aid and support in order to implement these changes for an improved quality of life for all citizens.
So hello everyone, my name is Staja and I'm from Slovenia. That's one of the smallest countries in Europe, and my hometown, Ptuj, happens to be about the same size as West Edmonton Mall. Today I'll talk about PBL, but what even is that? Through PBL, or project-based learning, we learn how to act. We use the knowledge and information that we already have to develop practical skills which will help us to work on current and future challenges. It is important that PBL is implemented through all ages and it increases in complexity. It's important also that cities support PBL, that we don't just stagnate in our classrooms, but we collaborate with other stakeholders such as non-governmental organizations, industry experts, universities, policymakers, but not just locally, but also internationally. We are aware that not all projects can be financially supported, but also with exchange of knowledge, information, skills, and experiences between professionals and students, that is also a way, and cities must support that. Working together with school and community partners can help students broaden their ideas about climate change, and they can come up with concrete, effective solutions which can help develop their local community. Through those collaborations will help students take individual and collective action, and that will allow them to share their ideas with the public. We, youth from across the planet, we have great ideas and complex ideas which require financial resources, supplies, participation, and networking. But due to lack of financial and practical resources, we are usually unable to implement them fully. That's why we urge upon all cities to support schools' project-based learning.
We are living in a digital era, and social media is not being used to its full potential. For that reason, we want that more people start using this tool to educate others by showing their initiatives, how they have been affected, and their opinion. Also, the youth population is so powerful both to spread ideas and make them come true, but they are not having the importance that they must have. That's why it's essential that schools start teaching students how to use social media instead of restricting it. This tool could be used to gather more people of different socioeconomic status and inspire them to incorporate ideas from initiatives shared through social media. We have to make people understand that every action, doesn't matter how small it seems, have a huge impact. Besides using social media to spread awareness, we have to use it to get involved and encourage others to participate in different events and collaborative activities, especially the young people, because they are the ones that we have to lead with world's climate challenges. But there is a big barrier that prevents us to get to a more educated people. And it's that in social media there are tons of information, and many of it is diverse and personalized. So people have to be able to differentiate between facts and opinions, ask themselves who is being beneficiated because of this information, to avoid misunderstandings with regard to common information, and to not be influenced by the interests of others. Cities must increase communication and participation between their citizens to let them know what the city is doing to fight climate change. Have in mind the opinion of the ones affected by the city solutions and broaden engagement of the youth in public and global matters.
Hello, my name is Keshav Shah, and I'm from the Los Altos, California, in the United States of America. When we started this project, we were individual students from separate cities and countries. But now, we're all from around the world. From Canada, Brazil, another Canada, Indonesia, Peru, China, Colombia, Slovenia, Kenya, Ghana, another one from Colombia, India, and then two more members that aren't here today, United Kingdom and Mexico, and including the US where I'm from. Now we've created a global family. We support each other from anything we're doing, and especially how we combat climate change where we are. We have five themes in general: inclusion, equity, curriculum, infrastructure, PBL, and social media and communication. Now I want you to think about something for me. Imagine something. Imagine a world 50 years from now where there's inclusion and equity that includes all indigenous and poor populations in climate conversations. The Inuit people of northern Canada and their traditional lifestyle and culture can inform others about how to adapt to climate change. Imagine a world where the curriculum of students and schools includes climate science in all of their subjects. First graders can learn about renewable and non-renewable resources, but also 12th graders and high schoolers can investigate on ocean acidification. Imagine a place where the infrastructure of schools and cities matches the curriculum that schools teach. Buildings of schools and the cities can have green walls, green roofs, use solar energy, and inspire others to be sustainable. Imagine a school where project-based learning gives youth, especially the youth, a way to give action to their community. Students can develop prototypes and new and innovative inventions with zero waste. Imagine a digital world. A digital world where social media and communication is key. It connects the globe together to combat climate change. Projects and ideas can be spread and implemented across the world, just as our group here has done. We have communicated across a digital platform. Imagine what can be shared and accomplished 50 years from now. My friend Taya from Slovenia inspired all a son or daughter. I'm a citizen of TUI, citizen of Slovenia, but I'm also a citizen of Earth. I am part of one big family, we all are. We must fight for this family, we must act. We can make a change because we are powerful, we are fearless. Sorry. It doesn't matter if you are 10, 18, 22, or 93. We can make a change, and together we can create a story of human ambition. This wouldn't happen if it wasn't for our partners. Our organization and the partners that organize this include the Center for Global Education and Taking It Global. But our funding partners who help transport us here includes the Alberta government, Louis Berger and the Berger Foundation. We are a global family. We, as the youth, are willing to fight to find solutions for climate change. We are the representatives of youth around the globe, and we want to work with you to see our future improve. Thank you.
And thank you all for sharing. My name is Carrie Karsgaard, and I work at the Center for Global Education, and it has been my absolute pleasure and honor to work with these students over the last couple of months, first online and through all the social media tools that they've been talking about, and then for the last 10 days in person, where they have literally been working 13 hours a day in a classroom to discuss their ideas and share their ideas and review all of the work of the other 4,000 students who were part of this mobilization. And so I don't want to take any time here because this is their time. I'm only here to facilitate a bit of a question and answer period before we head into a World Cafe where these students are going to come sit at your tables and lead some discussions, and you'll have a chance to chat with them one-on-one, which I think will be one of our highlights this afternoon. And so I do want to spend maybe about 25 minutes here allowing each of you, if you have any questions, to address your questions to the microphone there in the middle of the room. And then I'll just open it up, and our students here, if any of them have a response to your question, they can come up here, take the microphone, and we'll have a little bit of conversation before they join you down there. So any questions? Go ahead.
Hi, Josh Kelly, City of Prince George. Awesome work, guys. That was incredible. I'm excited to read the paper. I'd like to maybe hear from a couple people not from North America on what inspired you to join the group or take action on climate change. And part two, for anybody, what's the one biggest thing that we can do to encourage youth to get involved in the discussion?
Can you repeat your name? Sorry.
Josh.
Josh. Okay, Josh. So, I have many reasons to be here, present this day, but maybe the biggest reason I accept this opportunity was because I see ahead of me the chance to make the difference in the world, you know? Because many of my friends back in Brazil, almost all of them said, I want to be in your place, but I know I can't. But I'm proud to know that the one who's going to Canada to present in IPCC to talk about climate change is a person who knows what he's doing, and he'll make the difference in the world.
So to address your second question, what can adults do to engage youth in the climate change issue? I think the biggest thing is to make the offer, because in a lot of cases, like major conferences like this one, the invitation doesn't always go out to young individuals, youth, within the community and around the globe, because often we don't necessarily have the level of depth of knowledge that adults do, but we see it as youth would take the opportunity if it was presented. And I think it's a matter of the offer being presented to us, and I think you'll never know how many youth are interested in a topic until you offer.
Next question, please. Hi guys, Seth Schultz, co-chair of the Scientific Steering Committee for the conference. Just want to absolutely applaud you. This is, I think, my favorite session of the conference. I talk about climate change all over the world, and I'm really interested to know what your families think about you guys tackling this issue the way you've done it and coming all the way here. And then the last thing I'll say, as you guys think about your responses, is I just heard your request. I happen to be the co-chair for something called the Coalition for Urban Transitions, and we're helping national governments around the world create national urban policies. I'm very fortunate to have an Urban Leadership Council, some of the most senior people in the world on that, and we would like to invite you to consider joining us.
My family's from California, where green and being sustainable is very encouraged. So for my family, for me to be here, it's really big in what is happening in California. A lot of schools are being more green because a lot of schools have solar panels now. But the area that we're in encourages greenery and being sustainable. So my family is very happy for me to be here and to be part of this experience.
Okay, so basically, as you know, I'm from Colombia, and I consider that my family is not only my biological family, but it's also my school. And in my school, I know that all my classmates, they all have potential, they all have creativity, critical thinking, all that we need to make a change. But they do not have the knowledge, or at least don't want to give it the importance that it has. So basically here, I saw the opportunity to learn, and in anything that I can help these people to establish this paper. What I learned was how to use not only social media, but also how to use the PBL that we are implementing in our school. So it has been very valuable to get to know in a very sense how useful are the tools that we express on the paper.
For me being here, it was extremely honored, and not only my family, my neighbor, my friends, my school are also very supportive to me. And since my father is a big fan of planting and that kind of thing, he really proud to know that his daughter will support the climate change issue. Thank you.
Next question.
Yes. Hello. I'm Philip Vergaat from one of the co-founders of SCORE, the Sustainable Consumption Research and Action Initiative. So first of all, thank you. I'm sorry I missed the first half of your presentation. This metaphor of we all being a family is incredibly powerful. So one thing I want to say is that our organization, who are scholars on sustainable consumption research around the world, would be very eager to partner with your organization to see what we can do together. And my question to you is, can you imagine yourself being adults, married, having children, living on a much smaller footprint than we gray-haired adults have been doing? Because we all have to downsize ourselves very significantly. And so my question is, can you imagine yourself doing it? How would you do it? And can you teach us how to be less sinful here? Thank you.
So it's me again. And the first thing, before I answer your question, is that we being a family is not only a metaphor. We became a family. And the second thing is, yes, I imagine myself here from like 20, 30 years from now on, having children, being married, having my whole home, and having the less carbon footprint I can. Because during the days we stay here in Canada, we're not only also working on our white paper, but we also learn more about the environments, about taking care of more our trash, how to be more friendly, eco-friendly. And yes, we can teach like trying to like, you know, we're very used to like use plastic straws, plastic bags, plastic cups, and what I'm saying is not instead of using this, change for other things. So instead of using plastic cups, use mugs, because you can you can carry the water or the drink to everywhere you want, and you can drink anywhere, anytime, and you can put more drink in it. Plastic bags, you can change for reusable bags, so every time you go to the shopping mall or you go to the grocery store, you can take this bag and use many times as you want. And instead of using plastic straws, use metal ones. You can bring back to your home, wash it up, and use it for the next day. And reducing your carbon footprint sometimes is not better for the environment, but yourself. You know that I predict that from the years we're here now, but when I'm an adult and I have my own home, we will be producing our own energy. And we have many ways to do it, you know? One of these ways is using solar panels. And they're cheaper than you buying electricity every day, because you not only help the environment, but you help your pockets yourself. So there are many practices you can adapt just now, you don't need to wait, you know? You can just go back your home instead of using cars, use public transport, use bikes, try to walk, you know? Help yourself and help your planet. Thank you.
So like I mentioned, I come from Slovenia and we don't see climate change affecting us so much because, in our everyday life. But when I came here, I actually got this perception of those people here who see climate change affecting them every single day, like smog in China, in New Delhi, and so on. And I think that's the thing that really changed my thinking about climate change, that we all know that it's happening, but we have maybe this knowledge, what we need to do, but we kind of need this push up from knowing things into an action. And I think that projects like that, when we get this knowledge, that's like a first step to do that. Because I'll return to Slovenia and I'll start spreading this knowledge, spreading awareness. And maybe I'll start with my friends, but then I will continue on my school, on other schools, to whole local community, to whole country. And I think that's the first thing. And later on, of course, we need to move from just knowing things into an action. And I think that if we will all collaborate in this, we can achieve something. But we need to start, but not tomorrow, but today, right now.
Next question.
All of you are the age of my grandnieces and grandnephews, and I am so proud of you. Because unlike us, you don't have to retract from a worldview which has created all these problems. You can be the solutions. But your biggest challenge is going to be to make sure that you produce a movement of young people who do that. And I have a lot of hope for that because I represent an organization of slum dwellers. And we were 4 people when we started. And we now have federations in 33 countries, who we hope will join you. And we hope that the people in the informal settlements can similarly encourage young people living there to be part of your networks. You're from many of the countries where we come from, so maybe we should create new linkages. But I think the most important thing for you to do is to ask questions. Some of you said that maybe you felt you didn't know enough. It doesn't matter that you don't know enough. Ask questions. Make all of us uncomfortable about the stupid things that we have done. And I would say that when you got invited, you took my question away, or my request. But come to these institutional arrangements where grey-haired and middle-aged people sit and ask questions, because sometimes we fight over stupid things. And sometimes young people can show us the way. And finally, and most importantly, I think that your representation should also be to the IPCC, to make whatever they represent to be available in simple and clear languages, which also include your demands in what they do, because you are all people living in cities who have a stake in the future. So thank you so much.
Do you want to respond to this?
Yeah. Is there anyone who'd like to respond? Sorry, I just want to say thank you for that.
Sure, yeah. So we really appreciate that statement. I totally agree. Asking questions is going to be the only way that things will ever change in our society. And so the youth having the opportunity to ask questions to individuals who are a little bit older than us, who think they know everything, gives us the opportunity to not only inspire new ideas, but advance the thinking that is already happening and allow it to progress at a more rapid rate. And so I think you're absolutely right in that statement that involving us youth in these conversations is one of the best ways to further these discussions. So thank you.
I'll just add to that they didn't let me off the hook, I can tell you. They're good at asking questions. Next.
Hi all, thank you very much. My name is Katerina, I work for C40. I think next step is not only having the youth session, but having you guys in all of the sessions of the conference for next time. My question is, if you were the mayor of your city, and maybe one day you will, but it's not until now. If you were the mayor of the city you come from, what would be the first thing you would do to engage people of your generation in climate action, in climate activities, and climate planning?
Hello again, my name is Anthea, if you forgot. Well, in Ghana, we don't have mayors, but we have like representatives for each city. So if I were, say, the mayor of my city, I would first implement climate change in our curriculum. We talked about curriculum in our presentation, and like doing it from the ground up. So in the first grade, they would be learning about climate change maybe in small ways that they can understand, like maybe recycling and using reusable objects instead of things that you would throw away and that would go to a landfill. So first I would implement it in curriculum and also kind of try to change how people think about climate change, because I don't think you can do anything if people aren't receptive to what you're going to be doing. You see, so making climate change more of this, not a problem that certain people have to fix, but kind of like everybody's problem that we can work on it together. So yeah, thank you.
Hey, hello. I just want to make clear to the the man that said that this adult generation were so simple, and you are not, because you made this all for us and you opened the door for us to express our opinions. What I believe is that we have made social movements to respect women's rights. So what if we use again the social media to recollect all these people that believe that environment deserves its own place in the constitution and inside the education curriculum. So me as mayor, or at least having power under the Environmental Institute, I will use this power to promote the small communities that are presenting their anxiety about climate change.
So just building on what Anthea said, so I do believe that curriculum is like the main thing to make youth a part of this. So as mayor, I would obviously make that like mandatory to make curriculum include climate change. But to work on that, to make combating climate change a reality and not just something in textbooks, I think infrastructure is a huge thing that I as mayor would do. I would make schools adopt the concept of a living building, so with moss walls and water harvesting as well as solar panels, so that students actually get to see it in actual reality and in practice and not just in theory.
There's been there's panels on governments in communities, and if I was going to be a mayor, then I'd make a panel for youth. Because the youth are the ones that are going to make tomorrow, not today as a mayor, but tomorrow when they become older. So if we have their voices in the governmental ideas, then they can make better ideas when they get older, and so we have a better future forward.
We have time just for a couple more questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Mohit, and wonderful session. So we have been discussing capacity building and collaboration between communities and all of that. So I would just ask you, do you think that the kind of experts that are available in this session are also available at your school to just go and talk to you? And if they are not, would you want them? And the part of this is to us is that how many of us actually go to the nearby school for say 1 hour every month and to talk to kids and with school students to really talk about some of the scientific content that we develop and just put it into a nearby school, just nearby university, nearby my office, into a primary school, into a secondary school and all of that. And do you think you would want that kind of movement from us, a bit more adult people, to go back to schools and talk about what we are doing in these words and transmitting that into a mentorship program for the youth and the kind of schools that you're studying in? So this is my question or a kind of comment. Thank you.
So to answer your question, I think that if adults were to come into our schools and to talk with students, it couldn't be these like big group conversations or like holding assemblies at the school. It would need to be individuals who talk with the students one-on-one, so that not only the students understand what's being done, but also the student's voice is heard. Because often when you talk in big groups, there will be 1 or 2 individuals who overpower the ideas of everyone else. And in many cases, the ideas of every individual serves to further the discussion or further an idea or develop an idea. And so I think having one-on-one conversations, not necessarily with the highest level of a corporate business or a government, but having a whole range of adults from these areas come into schools and into communities within cities and towns, so that youth can have their voices heard, but also understand what's being done.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Valérie. I'm a climate scientist from France, co-chair of the IPCC for the physical science basis of climate change and member of the steering committee here. And as you know, the governments, they ask you to prepare reports, and hundreds of scientists, thousands of reviewers try to provide the best state of knowledge to governments, And our mandate is to write a summary for policymakers. But I've always thought that we should be writing a summary for citizens. We should be writing a summary for children and young people. Could you help us for this cycle of the IPCC to build from the work of scientists worldwide? Take our summary for policymakers, they are still quite technical, quite boring to read, and help us translate them so they can be used to share that knowledge with people of your generation. How can that be done? Thank you.
I completely agree with you because I think individuals, citizens, their actions are more effective than the government's policies. So I think we should start with translating the policy languages into the language we can understand. Because when I listen to the news, they use fancy words that can be translated into very simple languages, but using those fancy words make the information very difficult to spread. And another very important factor is to post the policies on social media. Like we've mentioned, Snapchat, Instagram, WeChat, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. And maybe we can put words into more like pictures, like more visual things that's easier for people to take in. Thank you.
Just to add on to what my friend Judy said, we could also use through-the-line advertising and social media because this also is a digital era and you get more people if you use social media.
They did look at the IPCC website and look at some of the reports and wonder. And wonder that same thing, how it could be translated for them. So thank you for that. We'll take 2 more questions so that we can move into our World Cafe. I know you've been waiting, so go ahead.
Hi, my name is Leon Sanderson. I'm a youth representative at iHumane Youth Society. So from a youth to another youth, I was wondering, based on your guys' knowledge and experience, I was wondering how can we encourage disadvantaged Indigenous youth of Canada to come together and join in a conversation to implement climate changes and awareness?
So we actually kind of addressed this topic within our paper. And so what we realized is that often the Indigenous way of life and the First Nation way of life here in Canada those individuals have a greater understanding of their environment and the area that they live in, and often have a more capable response to environmental change. But unfortunately, because their understanding of their environment isn't always scientific in nature, it is often excluded from the major conversations. And so what we put into our paper was that these communities and these groups of people need to have their voices heard, because although their ideas aren't necessarily scientific, they're still valid and they still serve as a perspective on climate change from their point of view. And we see this being done through a variety of methods, whether it be they get invited to major conferences like this and get a panel spot, or have the opportunity to attend town halls or government meetings where they are the sole focus of that meeting, and ensuring that something comes about from those meetings. Not necessarily immediately, but ensuring that their voices and knowledge is included in future development of climate change curriculum and mandates from the government.
Thank
Thank you for the question. One more, and then we'll move to our World Cafe.
Good afternoon. We had a chance to meet briefly yesterday. I'm Don Iveson, Mayor of Edmonton, and I thought of two brilliant questions, both of which have already been asked. So I'll just ask one of you, or more than one of you, to reflect on this. I brought my kids, who are 8 and 5, to the opening reception on Sunday because I wanted to point out the folks who motivate me to do this work and to stay vigilant and connected to a sense of urgency. So as leaders now, you've taken on some responsibility, and we talked a bit about hope yesterday. And so I wondered if you had a message of hope for Dexter and Alice, my 8 and 5-year-olds. Sorry, that's a lot of pressure.
I was planning to go like at the last, so that it's better to have the ideas of my friends who are not Canadians, well, except for Campbell, of course, to represent. So basically, I want to say to your children that I hope they can engage in these conferences and these activities, because they are also considered the youth. Obviously, if I get older, I'll be the elderly, and they're gonna be the future of this planet. They're gonna lead the globe. They're gonna decide all the important things. So it's important for them to acknowledge climate change issues from a very young age, so that they can
change. This movement has to start from education. In education, we recognize that is not the same in every country. So we also propose, a part of having a city council of inclusion, also having platforms, international platforms of education that could be free, such as Khan Academy. Having a course that could have all the knowledge that we need about the environment, about climate change, and the relationship between schools and cities could be very useful to influence the people to participate in this movement that we know that will change the future and will make it better for your children.
So about hope, I think everybody present in this room today may know about the Paris Agreements, right? Okay. Okay, so we know in the Paris Agreement that more than 180 countries signed up and stated we have until 2050 to change the climate change situation we have in the world today. And hope is that, as I don't know who said, but you are a parent, you are a father. So you believe in climate change and you are trying to go against this problem. Your children will see this and will be inspired. And the hope is that in 2050, I will be in my early 40s or 50s, they will be in their early 30s, you know. They will believe in this as well. And it's good for people in this age, just know about climate change and start working in it, you know, trying to have better and good and more new solutions, you know. Because this is the biggest thing about the humanity. We always get a way to know, like, get a new technology, a new answer, you know. We're always figuring out something new, you know. And having people from this age, from 8 years old, think about climate change, the ability and the massive quantity of solutions they can bring to us. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Terry Goddard. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Global Education, and we have the privilege of facilitating the dialogue with many different partners. So before we bring the youth back out to the tables, I just want to say a couple of things that I think are very hopeful. Number one is when this conference was taken by Edmonton, they approached us right from the very beginning and said that rather than how many of these international conferences are done, where youth sit on the outside and maybe come in for a special session and then maybe they sit on a panel and we pat them on the head and they go their way, the city of Edmonton wanted to do it differently. And with the backing of the Alberta government and the Berger Foundation and then C40, Seth here, they had a vision for creating something meaningful, some meaningful way of amplifying the voice of youth. And to me, that is extremely hopeful, that we have cities who are able to and willing and wanting to engage their youth in these type of global dialogues. And so I think a special shout out to the City of Edmonton, to C40, to IPCC, to the Alberta government for the work that they did to help make it happen. So thank you. So what we're going to do now, we were going to give half an hour, but then we got spending a little more time on the questions. Distributed around are 5 different questions, and we're not going to get a lot of time to transfer between them, but we want you to spend some time one-on-one working with the youth, and then in a World Cafe type format. So there are questions there, and they want to hear from you and engage you in a discussion. They're going to take everything that you create, we're going to take this and incorporate it onto the paper, so that it can be footnoted. So it's important that your contributions are there. So please come find your way down to a table, and there are youth who are going to facilitate a dialogue that was there, and we would love to get you and your words